two icons of America's rival political parties, one sentiment. Try something, Reagan. Do something, Roosevelt. If you paid any attention to any previous election, you can be forgiven for thinking that our problems are indomitable, that our ideologies are so far apart that nothing can be done. But that's not true. Perhaps there's more that embodies us than subdivides us. And while elections focus on the divide, I want to focus on what we share. Because yes, there's sacred ground, but I believe there's also common ground. And that's the ground we need to propagate. Economy. To change things for the better, we must be authentic with ourselves. People are hurting and are in trouble. Jobs are hard to find. Paychecks are not growing. Utility and tuition bills are strangling us as they increase over the limit, and a $100 bill doesn't get you very much at the grocery store anymore. We cannot settle for this. The United States has the greatest economy in the world, and there's a reason that people around the globe want to come here to achieve success and prosperity. But we have a lot more work to do. Right now, we have a chance to achieve unprecedented gains in economic growth. Not by giving more power to the politicians, not by giving more breaks to multinational corporations, but by unleashing the intelligence and original spirit of ordinary Americans. We're not going to get our economy fixed by forcing some to pay for a larger group, or by convincing dedicated taxpayers that the American dream is no longer reachable. That is a lie. The American dream is unquestionably reachable. All we have to do is make the rules apply to everyone, not just some, and stop the government from getting in the way. Terrorism. On terrorism, we have to be willing to call Islamic terrorism what it is. Just as we have to acknowledge that calling things by their real names doesn't solve the problem by itself. Our problem isn't language, our problem is strategy. It's neither wise nor humane practice to single out adherents of one religion simply because we can name it. We have to do more than get tough for the sake of being tough. We need to be aggressive, but above all, we need to be resourceful. Resourcefulness means finding ways to harm the terrorists without putting our men and women in uniform or at more risk than we already have, and not committing the United States military to unnecessary wars. Internationally, the United States must take the lead in the world of competing powers. And while we must respect the framework of the multilateral institutions, the United States must always take the proper action. We can't wait for a permission slip to do what is right. Other governments in the world will try to undermine multilateral institutions and agreements every chance they receive. And that is exactly why the United States can never turn its back on the United Nations or turn away from our obligations of NATO. If we do that, other powers will quickly take over, and we will face global instability as a consequence. In order to meet our obligations around the world and continue to promote democratic values, the U.S. military must continue to be the greatest in the world. Healthcare. We need to make sure that we have all access to affordable healthcare. It's not fair that over the past few years, your deductible has risen 7 times faster than your pay, your premium has risen 3 times faster, and now we're seeing premiums go up while the number of plans you can choose from goes down. That's not what we intended. It doesn't make sense that prescriptions routinely cost 2 or 3 times more in the US than they do in the UK or other nations. It's unethical that the drug companies jack up prices just because they can. You know something is wrong when a kid dies from a bee sting because their parents couldn't afford an EpiPen. Together we can set it right. For better or for worse, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare if you will, is the law of the land. Does it have real problems? Absolutely. But it has also given half of uninsured Americans a plan. Get rid of it and 20 million Americans lose their health insurance tomorrow. And the premiums, which are going up too fast already, will go up another third or even half. So let's build on the law we have. So let's keep what works, the ban on discriminating against people with pre-existing conditions, the increased access to preventative and maternity care, the ability for young people to stay on their parents' plan until they turn 26. Let's fix what's broken. Let's tell the drug companies that they have an obligation to more than just their stock price, that they have an obligation to us. Let's make sure that working Americans can actually afford health care they deserve. Immigration. We've been arguing about our immigration system for decades, to the point that I'm beginning to think that people would rather argue about it than do something. So let's do something, and let's start with what we know. The vast majority of immigrants in our country are honest, hardworking, and here for the same reason that our parents and grandparents came here. They want to build a better life for themselves and their families. Now, there are some who say we should deport anyone who's here illegally. Fair point, but how are you going to deport 11 million people? That would be like rounding up the populations of Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, and Philadelphia and shipping them all off. What are you going to do with the children of people who come here illegally if the children aren't citizens themselves? Would you remove them from the only country they have ever known? It's inhumane. So let's give them an option. People who pass a criminal background, pay taxes plus a fine, and commit to learning English should be given a way to become citizens. If they play by the rules, they can pay and stay and earn their citizenship. We can fix our immigration system and remain a strong, secure nation in the process. I know we can make progress, but in order for that to happen, I need you to do something. I need you to vote. I need you to get your friends and neighbors to vote. I ask you to stand with me, and together we'll build the country I know we can. Because remember, this election isn't about Benton Tennant, Olivia Williams, or anyone else. It's about where we're headed as a nation, and I believe we're headed toward the economic freedom, self-governance, strength abroad, and prosperity at home. Always remember, protect the people. Thank you, and may God bless America. I am Benton Tennant, and I approve this message.